Hi there folks, welcome back to another video. This is Don at Affordable Desert Living. And today folks, I want to show you a few things, all pertaining to the crazy monsoon season we've had. And just a quick review folks, if you remember, the tank here collects water from my 8 340 watt solar panels, comes down into this gutter, and then drains down into the tank. So I'm just delighted with this thing. It's just like getting water here almost every day. So there's a couple hundred gallons of water in this tank, and that's basically happened over the last 2 or 3 days, which is really, really cool. I've got like a foot of water in there. And what that means is, for all the plumbing leading out of the tank, I can't do anything. The tank has to be dry in order for me to finish up the bulkhead and all of the piping that runs out of it. So I literally have to wait, I guess, until our monsoon season is over, and then I can finish up the tank. So stay tuned for that, for an additional segment on how I finish up this tank and plumb it and make it work for irrigation, because that's its main purpose, irrigation. I won't be using this for drinking water. So the days of just strolling around in my yard and walking on the mulch that I put down, and being able to see clearly for reptiles, and or just stroll through there easily without wading through deep grass, are gone. So that means I've got to do something. So I've been thinking long and hard about what to do here with all this jungle. And I really don't have any quick and easy answers. So in my neighborhood, it seems like most people just put down crushed rock for the areas they want as recreational and living space. But there's a couple issues with that. Number one, it's expensive. I don't have the budget for it, to be honest. Also, I'm not sure I really like it. You know, you're walking on hot, small stones, and I mean, it looks really nice, but it really just doesn't appeal to me, to be honest. So I thought, well, I can go through here with a weed cutter and then cut it all down to the ground. My only problem with that idea is that a week or so of rain and these crazy weeds are going to be all tall again in no time at all. That's not a weed, by the way. That's my famous little cottonwood, which I really love. So the other thought was, well, I could do weed killer, and I am not doing chemicals on this yard. I don't think so. So if you have any suggestions, folks, how to make all this area nice and clear and neat looking, I'd love to hear about them. Put them in the comments below, please, and just tell me what you would do. So I'm kind of one of those guys that do things the hard way, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull all the weeds by hand. I want my living space back. Let's get at it. So naturally, not everything is weeds here. I planted some wildflowers here last year, and none of these ever grew. But this year, one little bouquet of them showed up. Almost seems a shame I have to pull all these up. They are kind of pretty, but they really are weed, and they're absolutely everywhere. And of course it makes me think a lot. It's like, okay, one man's weed is another man's decorative wildflower. Anyway, they're gonna go. Same with this guy. Also classified as a weed, even though they're kind of pretty. But the nature guy in me really doesn't like pulling up any flowers, to be honest. But it's got to be done. Yeah, it's even got kind of like an orchid-like bloom, but it's one great big serious weed. It's got to go. It's kind of like a big stalk of celery. It just broke off, but oh well. I don't think it's going to come back. My famous old thermarest will make it a lot easier on the knees. There's no end this time of year to these little midges, flies, and they come in groups, and especially when you're close to vegetation, there's some in my ears now, they go right for the eyes. They don't bite, but they're annoying. But I don't want to put insect repellent all over me. I've done that for years as a wildlife technician, and we use some really awful stuff. So this stuff is great. You just slather it around the ears, and even not in the ear canal, but just kind of on the edge. So when you goop this up, folks, what it does is it makes it so slippery and goopy that the flies go, no, we're done. There, I think I'm sufficiently gooped up. Let's get to weeding. So far, no weird creatures. That was a big one. When I was a kid, I always wanted to visit the jungle. I just never knew that I'd end up owning one. Well, when I was a kid, we had to walk 5 miles to school. During the summer, when other kids were swimming and playing ball, we were out weeding. Oh, you had to weed a lot. Oh, luxury. We had to sleep in the middle of the road in a paper bag, and each night our dad would come home and bite us with a broken bottle. Well, no vines to swing on in this jungle, and we're making progress. One really great thing about the mulch that I put on here is it tends to, when it's moist, allow roots to be pulled up pretty easily overall. So some might wonder, well, why didn't this guy pull all this stuff up when it first started showing up? Well, for a reason being, I was on other projects, but mostly once the plant's big enough and the mulch is soft like this, then for the most part you can grab big tufts of weed or grass, and it makes it an easier job to pull up overall. I'm thinking this isn't probably one of my most exciting videos, but then homesteading and working on your property isn't necessarily about exciting all the time. Sometimes it's just about, you got to get it done. There are quite a few of these shrubs here on my property. This is called desert sumac, and they only fruit occasionally, not every year, and not every tree fruits at the same time. It's probably hard for you to see these even in my hand here. They're really small, but birds absolutely love them, and they're chock full of vitamin C, and they taste a little woody but really tart and kind of actually tasty. So I'm going to gather some of these and make tea from them, because I hear you can, and the Native Americans years ago used to use these from what I know as well. So I've got about a half a teaspoon in here, and I don't know whether you can see it very well. Don't want to dump them all out, of course. And I think I'm going to call that good. Well, folks, we had rains, and I had a variety of things that I had to do, so I didn't complete all the weeding I wanted to do as quickly as I wanted, but I'm making a lot of progress now. Oh, and also these aren't weeds. These are gorgeous flowers, wildflowers, that came up after I planted them with a seed mix a couple years ago. And they just seem to all come up in one place. And so I don't really want them all clustered like that. I think if I'm careful, I can move them and make kind of a row of nice flowers on the perimeter of the backyard here. We'll see. I don't want to kill them by moving them, but I'll give it a try. So I'm on the home stretch for the most part, and weeding I'm finding, I've never had a yard to weed before, so this is my first time to weed a yard, and it's kind of tedious and slow. It's slower than I thought it would be, to be honest. So with all the wet, everything takes advantage of all the lush growth. So if you see as I walk along, you'll see no end to crazy grasshoppers. So you can see why I might not be a big fan of all the grasshoppers. My beautiful Asian empress tree, which is growing so well, a lot of the leaves are really thrashed by all those grasshoppers. But the good thing is they're only a seasonal insect, and I'm suspecting my good old empress tree is going to survive that, no problem. But what I absolutely love about these Paulownia or empress trees, they're such fast growers. This tree has been put in the ground 2 months ago and is already about 2 feet tall. So for the most part, this is pretty much done. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching, folks, and all your wonderful comments totally make my day, that's for sure. And if you want to see more videos, there's some really good ones coming up, I'll tell you, where I take on the project of a lifetime. You'll want to see that for sure. So hit the notification bell. That'll tell you when the next video is coming up. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And we'll see you on the next video. So I'm just going to pour the hot water into the berries. Of course, another thing I could have did is put them in the pot and let them just, everything simmer on the stove. Not sure. What would you folks have done when you were making desert sumac tea? Leave it in the comments below. Be fun to hear. But I can't resist a sip now, so let's try it. It's actually pretty nice. It's really mild, like a really mild flavor. I really can't put my finger on it. It's like nothing I've ever tasted. Oops, swallowed one of them. I'm going to call this a success.